Hello again, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and as always, I hope you're doing super duper fantastic. And recently, I've been talking about our that low vibrational energy that we emit when we are in low vibrational states, such as fear and anxiety, and just all that negative emotional states that we seem to be bombarded with from all sides at all times. It's like it's not enough that we sometimes struggle in our own lives to keep our vibration up, to stay positive. It's sometimes it seems as if it's coming from all sides, even from internally. So it's like when we talk about keeping our vibration up, I mean that's like the obvious thing. That's what we know we need to do. We definitely need to do that. And there are ways to kind of keep yourself in check throughout the day. Because in the real world, we have to work. We have to go to work. We have to deal with people. We have to be in public. We have to deal with other people's crappy attitudes. We have to hear what's going on in the world. Even if we have decided, I'm not going to watch the news, I'm not going to take in that negativity, it's still just around us. It's just around us. So sometimes to keep our vibration up, it's not always easy to do. And that's why in the past I have recommended what I call awareness alarms. And that's where you take your phone and every hour or 2 hours or whatever you think is best, you set an alarm to go off every hour or 2 hours or whatever. And when that does go off, you recenter yourself. It's not like you have to take any real significant amount of time. It's just a few seconds to bring your awareness back in here. Realize just realize I probably have been on autopilot since whenever my last alarm went off. But right now, I am recentering myself. I'm bringing my awareness right here, right now, in this moment, this time, in this now moment. And at that point, we turn off the autopilot. We get very intentional in what we're doing with ourselves, with our day. So that's something I suggest a lot of times, like in the podcast and things like that. The awareness alarms are it's a very good tool to use to make sure you are staying aware, remaining conscious throughout the day. Because it's a lot of times we get to the end of the day and we realize, man, I haven't, the whole day just went by. I don't even remember it. Right? And one of those, and a good example of that is like when we're driving to work and you're on your usual route. You know, you're on your route to work, you leave home, and you might get to work and realize, and if you think about it, you realize, I don't even really remember driving to work. It was as if I was on autopilot. It's because you were completely unconscious, right? And that's why it's good to break things up, break pattern, as they say. Drive a different route to work. Drive something that makes you drive a route that would, or do something that makes you have to get conscious. Something that makes you have to focus on the moment right now. And that way, you will be aware of your vibration. You'll be aware of your emotional state. You'll be aware of all of those things. So, there's that. And by the way, loved ones, if you would please give this video a like. I would so appreciate that. And also, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. That would be super fantastic. So, there's that. But the keeping your vibration up and the awareness alarms, that's good. That's very good. I mean, that's the obvious thing. But we also need to remember to protect our energy, right? We know that where our attention goes is where our energy flows. And in a lot of cases, we don't even realize where we are focusing our attention. Why? Because we're on autopilot. So, therefore, the awareness alarms, great way to bring your attention back to the now. So, that's when we can protect our energy. It's like what have I been focusing my attention towards, and subsequently feeding my energy to? And is it something that is worthwhile? Is it something that's going to serve you or anybody else? In a lot of cases, it's usually something that's not serving anybody. In a lot of cases, it's something that is, I don't want to say to your detriment, but it's usually tends to skew towards the negative. I say that because the human collective are on a negative trajectory. They are on a slightly negative path. Now, obviously, they're not on a nosedive, but they are on a slightly negative downward trajectory. And I mean, I've definitely got my theories on that. And it all goes back to what I've said before with what they call the Archons, right? The demiurge, those beings, they are spirits. It's not spirits, but they are entities that have permeated our reality. Now, depending upon what your religious background is, you can call them different things. Some people call them demons. Some people call them jinn. Some people call them many different things. But the point is, these entities, they do feed on what is referred to as Loosh, which is that very low vibrational energy that we emit when we are in those low vibrational states, when we're in those negative states, such as fear, anxiety, worry, guilt. Just a couple examples. Fear is a very big one, and anxiety is another very big one. And that's why when we watch the news, it is filled with negativity. It's filled with just bad things. And it puts us in that very low vibrational state to where we emit that loosh. Now, also in the entertainment industry, like, for example, horror movies. Horror movies are getting worse and worse. It's as if the elite ruling class of the world know that they do serve these negative entities, these archons, and that is their offering to them. That is their way of that's their way of earning favor with the archons, is to continuously keep the masses, continuously keep the human collective in that negative state, anxiety and fear. There are, and I realize I just mentioned horror movies, and yes, there are other kinds of movies, but most of the movies and most of the entertainment has very negative vibrations, has very negative. It puts people in a very low vibrational states of envy, greed, when it comes to, say, the music industry. And it puts us in states of fear when it comes to, like, movies, or anxiety when it comes to watching the news, things like that. All of those are keeping people in a low vibrational state, emitting that loosh. And as I've said, I do believe that the elite ruling class of the world are aware of this. That is their way of appeasing these entities. That is their way of earning favor with them. So it's like they are keeping the masses in low vibrational states so that they continue to produce that loosh. But, dear loved one, as always, awareness is key. Awareness of the issue, awareness of your own state. It's unfortunate that we cannot necessarily save the world. It's unfortunate that we cannot save humanity from itself. Because, I don't know what percentage, probably 90% of humanity are asleep at the wheel. Most of them are completely unconscious all the time. That's why I've said that humanity, the human collective as a whole, they move as one unit. They have become one single unit of consciousness. And they move as one. They are all on a very negative trajectory. Beautiful thing is, though, once we become aware of that, once we become awake, geez, sorry, loved one, but once we begin our awakening and we realize these things, that's when we can say, hey, I don't want to participate in that anymore. I'm going to take my single unit of consciousness and separate it from that group, and I'm going to go my own way. I'm going to go a positive way. They're on that slightly negative trajectory. I'm going to go on a positive trajectory. I'm going to move as a unit of consciousness, just like they are. But this one is going to be made up of one unit, and theirs is made up of billions. But awareness is key. Once we become aware of these issues, once we become aware of the fact that there is so much negativity, so much fear and anxiety bombarding us from every angle, never mind from inside, right? We have to deal with that enough as it is. But but awareness is key on that as well. Once we become aware of the fact, I'm not doing myself any favors. I need to get more aware of what's going on inside me. And I also am now aware of what's going on outside of me. So I'm going to learn to block that out. I'm going to learn to not feed energy to any of those negative things. I'm now aware of this. And that's why I say the awareness alarms, it's a very good tool. It's simple. And yeah, it probably might get on your nerves once in a while, because especially if you have it going off every hour. But if it causes you to center your attention in the now and just take inventory of yourself. If it gets on your nerves a little bit, that alarm going off, well, but is it going to keep you on a positive trajectory? Is it going to keep you centered? Is it going to keep your awareness here and now? Keep you off of autopilot and living with purpose, living with on purpose. So there's that. But once you become aware of these things, that's when you can take your power back. That's when we're like, I am not participating in that anymore. I am not going to feed that low vibrational energy, that loosh. I'm not going to put that out. These negative entities that permeate our reality, that use that as a sustenance. I'm not going to feed them anymore. That's not me. I'm going another way. But you have to learn to gatekeep your mind. Gatekeep what goes in. And if that means turning off the news, if that means not watching the latest, greatest movie, yeah. I mean, you may miss out on some things, but are you really missing out? No, not at all. Not at all. Because you're going to keep your vibration up. And it'll be, I don't want to say effortless, but it'll be a lot easier that way. Because you won't be continually being beat down. Also, when it comes to, and this is a whole other thing, and you may think this is woo-woo and have loved what I've said so far. And then once I get to this, you might think, wow, he just went down the tubes real quick. That's fine. But also, when this construct ends, when there is a reset, and that is I believe, an extraction point for when it's reset, and those who are of not really serving the construct well will be plucked out, maybe some new ones put in. The ones who are still asleep at the wheel will be recycled back through for the next run of it, whatever. At that point, you will really be of no use. They're going to be like, this person does not produce loosh. In fact, this person is a little bit dangerous because they may be an example that may be leading others to also get aware of what's really going on. And at that point, you may be extracted out of this reality and moved on to something else. There you go. Got a little woo-woo for you there, dear loved one. But hey, if you would, again, please give me a like on this video if you have not yet done so. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, I would really appreciate it if you would do that. And I realize that whenever I talk about some of these things, like that whole bit about Loosh and feeding the Archons, for those of you who are familiar with reality transurfing, that sounds a lot like pendulums, right? And for those who are not familiar with reality transurfing, just take my word for it. I mean, I'm trying to reconcile my feelings with reality transurfing. In a lot of ways, it seems a very selfish thing. But then again, it's like, well, there's nobody here that I can save besides myself. So I'm trying to reconcile that because I don't believe that reality transurfing is all the way that. But anyway, I'm working on it. I am. I'm a work in progress, dear loved one. So anyway, that's what I got for you. I do love you. I truly do. And I'll be back directly.